Great. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:07. I'm Bridget Gibbons, the chairperson of the board, and I'd like to call the March 1st, 2023 meeting of the Hudson Valley Regional Council Board of Directors to order. I'm just going to read a little disclaimer. That's probably not the right word, but as permitted by the September 15th, 2022 update to the New York State Open Meetings Law, the March 2023 meeting of the Hudson Valley Regional Council Board of Directors is being held by video conference by the Zoom meeting login information provided at the top of the proposed agenda. The public may attend in person at the offices of the Hudson Valley Regional Council at 105 Ann Street, Suite 2, Newburgh, New York 12550. Additional locations available for in-person attendance will be provided in the final agenda. A video recording of this meeting shall be available on the HVRC's official website within 5 business days following the meeting, along with the transcription at a later date. Now I'd like to turn it over to Carla to take the roll.
Thank you, Bridget. So let's see. Putnam County Economic Development Corporation President Kathleen Abels, who is the designated representative for County Executive Kevin Byrne, is attending by a proxy through our chairperson. Legislative Chairwoman Tracy Bartels.
Here.
Grants Manager Mario Caruso, designated representative for Planning Commissioner Luis Albano from the City of Yonkers. Okay, I'm sure he will be joining us shortly. Liaison to the chair, Vivian England, designated representative for Legislative Chairman Jay Hood from Rockland County.
Here.
Economic Development Director Bridget Gibbons.
Here.
Legislative Aide for the 9th District, Althema Goodson from Westchester County.
Present.
Thank you. Newburgh Mayor Torrance Harvey. Okay, he will be joining us in a few minutes. Legislative Counsel Lisa Hochman, designated representative for Legislative Chairwoman Catherine Borgia from Westchester County.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Randy Johnson from Dutchess County is attending via proxy through Bridget Gibbons. Legislative Chairman Paul Jonk, I'm not sure if that is the correct name, is unable to attend today from Putnam County. Kingston Mayor Steve Noble.
Here, hello.
Hello. Legislator Mike Polasic from Dutchess County, designated representative for Legislative Chairman Greg Pulver.
Here.
Thank you. County Manager Joshua Potosik, designated representative for Legislative Chairman Robert Doherty. Okay. Development Director Natalie Quinn, designated representative for Poughkeepsie Mayor Marcus Nelson.
Present.
Thank you. Economic Development Director and Tourism Department Director Lucy Redzaposki, designated representative for County Executive Edward Day.
Here.
From Rockland County. Thank you. Town of Ramapo Supervisor Michael Specht.
Here.
Thank you. Planning Commissioner Alan Sorensen, designated representative for Deputy County Executive Harry Poor from Orange County.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Janet Sutherland, the designated representative for Orange County Legislative Chairwoman Katie Bonelli, is attending via proxy through Bridget Gibbons. Economic Development Director Tim Wiedemann, designated representative for Ulster County Executive Jen Metzger.
Present.
Planning Commissioner Owen Rafter, designated representative for Dutchess County Executive William O'Neill.
Here.
Okay, and did we have someone new join us? Okay, not quite yet, but we are good to go with quorum.
Great. Thank you, Carla. Noting a quorum is present and this meeting has been properly noticed pursuant to sections 103A and 104 of the Public Officers Law, Open Meetings Law. I request a motion to open the meeting. Please identify yourself by name when making motions or seconding motions for the record. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
I'll motion that we open the meeting.
Second. Mike Polashek, second.
Thank you. Great. So just good afternoon, everyone. Now that the roll is behind us and the formalities are, I'm welcoming you all to this meeting today. It's great to see everybody. I hope everybody got through the snow the other day. Okay. I know for one, I'm looking forward to spring, which I know is, March 20th is the first day of spring. It's just around the corner. So happy to have you all with us. I wanted to welcome some new members to the board, so the county executives and other electeds that are new. There may be the same representative participating in the meeting, but I'll just go through the list of the new appointees. So Putnam County Executive Kevin Byrne, Putnam County Legislative Chair Paul Jonk, City of Poughkeepsie Mayor Marcus Nelson, Ulster County Executive Jen Metzger, Dutchess County Executive William O'Neill. So those are the new electeds that are on our board, and many of the representatives remain the same. I'll quickly give an update on the audit. As you all know, those of you that have been attending the meetings, is a top priority for the board. And I'm pleased to report that we have hired an auditing firm, Nugent and Heusler. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that last name. Carla recently signed an engagement letter with them. And so they're going to be providing 2 services to us. And those are both included in the scope of work that they provided and that we agreed to. The first step, the firm will be preparing our financial statements for the HVRC for the years ending 12/31/19, 20, and 21. So those that'll be a great basis for kind of getting our arms around the financials. They're going to look closely at them and make sure they're all in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and work closely with Carla on that. The fee for that engagement is not to exceed $13,000. And after that, next they will audit the financial statement for the year ending 12/31/2022. And they will issue a report that includes their opinion about whether the financial statement are in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles, and we'll also be auditing the HVRC's compliance with applicable laws, regulations, contracts, and agreements. The fee for the audit portion of the services is not to exceed $12,000. The audit milestones, these are approximate dates. March 2023, Carla will be with the assistance of the auditors, we'll be finalizing the chart of accounts and updating QuickBooks with entries from 2019 through 2022, and also into 2023. March 2023, initial meeting with the auditor to discuss the approach, responsibilities, needs, etc. for our financial statements, preparation and audit. April through May of 2023, preparation of financial statements of 2019 to 2021 by the auditing firm. That may take less time, but Carla is being conservative in terms of her estimation of the duration of that task. It is possible that we'll have something to report on concerning, or may be able to present the financial statements to the board at our next meeting, June 7th. And then between June and August of 2023, the work on the audit will commence. And it is possible that at our September meeting, we would be able to report on the findings from the audit. So we are working as quickly as we can on this. We think we all can breathe a sigh of relief that we have, an accounting firm that is going to be taking a close look at our finances and really helping us get on track if we're not on track. But I think, it's a big milestone in terms of getting the organization, continuing to have the organization be on the right track. Are there any questions from the meeting participants on what I just reported on the audit? Comments? Okay, we'll continue on. The next item is the member survey. So we worked recently with Carla to establish her goals as the executive director of the organization for 2023. And in those discussions, we thought it would make sense to really turn to our members, to you folks, to understand what your priorities are for the organization. So, we have had kind of one-off discussions about more focus on economic development, but I know many of you benefit from the continued focus on climate and environmental programs that the HVRC provides. So we will be sending out a SurveyMonkey link with some questions, just a few questions to gauge your, your kind of feedback on the direction that you'd like us to head in. But we will also take the time to speak with each of you directly. So the survey will be a method for us to kind of gather data, so we have kind of all the data in one place, but then we want to have conversations. So think about what your priorities are. If what we're doing, you feel like we're 100% on the right track, that's fine, and we can continue along. But if there's room for some a broader focus in other areas, we'd like to hear from you. So we'll be commencing that in the next, I'd say in the next month or so. We should be able to get the survey out to you and start to schedule those discussions. So look forward to emails from us on that topic. The next item any questions or comments on the member survey? Okay. The next item to report on is the Personnel Committee. We met on February 10th and began our review of the HVRC personnel policies. Thankfully, Carla had done some research and provided us with policies that are in place for other regional councils in New York State. So we had kind of a nice source to refer to get started on this. The committee took a first pass at editing and fine tuning the personnel policies. And the next step is for me to meet with Carla and get clarification on a couple of items. And then the committee will regroup and finalize the personnel policies. I anticipate that we should have a final version of the policies by the next board meeting. I want to thank Lucy Rosapolsky and Mike Polasek for their contribution of time and expertise to this important work. I really appreciate your help and support on this. Any comments or questions from the board members on the personnel policies? Okay, zooming right along. I will now turn it over to Tim Wiedemann for the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Bridget. I'm going to skip over some of the updates that
Tim, we're having a really hard time.
Financials that we can share with the board.
Tim, we're wondering if maybe you could turn your camera off to improve the sound quality. Great, thanks.
Yeah, is this any better? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm on an unstable Wi-Fi connection, I believe.
Yeah,
So
if you want to just start over with your comments, that would be great.
yep, I'll back up. Really just saying that a lot of what Bridget, you reported on relates to our ability to provide financial reports. So this month at this meeting, I do not have financial reports to share, but I do have a quick summary of the financial position of the organization, thanks to the work that I've been doing with Carla. And to re-echo what Bridget said, we are in the process of making updates to the organization's chart of accounts. those updates will allow us to provide better reporting to this board so that it can fulfill its fiduciary duty of care to the organization. Really, it'll make it easier for you all to keep track of the organization's financial health. So while we go through that transition that involves our audit and our changes to the chart of accounts, we're carefully monitoring the accounts receivable and cash flow of the organization to make sure that the organization remains in a strong financial position, able to meet its financial obligations. And I'm also happy to report that Carla's efforts have paid off in terms of resolving some of the outstanding accounts receivable from the member counties. So thank you, Carla, for the effort, and thank you to all the members for stepping up to make good on the dues that weren't collected for a couple of years that have helped put the organization back into a strong financial position. Currently, as of February 26th, the account balance stood at just over $86,000. That is not including some substantial outstanding receivables that we expect to collect on in the near future, including a CARES reimbursement from EDA of over $117,000 that I think Carla was going to try to, we were hoping it would hit today. If not today, then probably before the end of the week. PPA reimbursement through EDA for $35,000 that also should hit this week. And then some future receivables that we expect over the next couple of weeks that should amount in the multiple tens of thousands of dollars. So currently, we're expecting that even by the end of this week, the cash on hand will be in excess of $200,000, and with a burn rate that varies month to month, but is typically in the $25,000 to $30,000 range. That gives us a comfortable 6 to 7 months runway, not counting the revenues that we will continue to collect over the next few months. So that's my report this time. Look forward to future meetings having more detailed reports that we can share with the board as we finish the audit work.
Great. Any questions on the treasurer's report? Okay. Hearing none, I will now turn it over to Carla to provide the executive director's report.
Well, thank you so much, Bridget and Tim. It has been very exciting to work with the new officers and have the engagement of the full board. I'm very thankful for that. And it makes for exciting work, not just for me, but for all of us. Melanie, Mayor Harvey's having trouble getting into Zoom. Maybe you can email him. Thanks. And I also wanted to, of course, welcome everybody to the first meeting of 2023. And I wanted to thank again, repeat what Bridget said regarding Lucy and Mike for your support and Bridget's work on the personnel policies. We're very excited to have those buttoned up. It's as you know, they're a little ripe and need to be turned over. So my report will be a little brief, but a lot has been accomplished since the last 3 months, since we last met 3 months ago. HVRC, I believe, has made a significant amount of forward progress since the last meeting. As Bridget mentioned, HVRC is now formally engaged with an auditing firm, and I will feel as relieved as you all will be when we have confirmation that everything is moving forward in the correct manner with regards to our financial health. And I will be even more pleased to have QuickBooks be the tool that it can be, rather than my having to create multiple spreadsheets to ensure that everything is on track, which is what I've been having to do. So it'll be a relief on a number of levels. Let's see, some of the other items that have been at the forefront over the past 3 months is finalizing the contracting for the 2 climate action planning institutes in Dutchess County and Westchester County, those that are focused on mitigation. That was successfully completed, and also the successful launch of the 2 CAPIs. Mary will be telling you a little bit more about that during our programmatic updates. I've also been working on the contracting portion for the adaptation component of CAPI. That's with the Hudson River Estuary Program, the funding through that. And as I'd mentioned before, the funding amount has grown twice without our even asking. So it's a wonderful position to be in, working with the Estuary Program on that, on this effort. They're very excited to have, I think it's going to be, 29 or so deliverables that will come out of the adaptation components. So their excitement development is, I can understand why they're pleased with that. I've also been in the process of contracting on the Northern Borders Regional Commission broadband funding that's specifically primarily target to Sullivan County. So that's underway, working with the Department of State on that. And you will be hearing more about 2 new staff that we hired. We think they'll really be excellent additions to the team. And I think the 2 biggest accomplishments have been, and I'm sure this will be a huge, I know it's a huge relief to Mayor Noble, the Kingston Organics Diversion Study is completed, and it's in the middle of internal reviews, and then it'll be set out for public input. And the CARES project, the 2 components of the CARES project, the report and the webinars, were also successfully completed and very well received by the EDA program manager. There are, of course, many things that are still on the burner. Some things get done and then other things come up, but I hope to report on those successes at the June board meeting. And I've also received confirmation from Ed Hummel that he is interested in meeting with HVRC to discuss, the future of what the partnership planning program looks like for us, and to talk about the nexus. I believe that's Tim's favorite word, of economic development with sustainability and clean energy, because while we may be limited with in terms of funding from the EDA because of our the higher incomes that we see in our region compared to the rest of the country, we have opportunities to be really creative. And recently I got the opportunity to visit to attend the press conference, Governor's Hochul's press conference on the iPark 87. Hope I'm getting it right. And it was a really fantastic experience. It's like exactly what Tim is talking about when he talks about the nexus. It's repurposing of a former IBM site, solar panels on the rooftop, workforce housing, workforce development component. And as I mentioned to Tim, the only thing that's missing is a little bit of thought around precipitation, how to gather the precipitation that we're getting, because it's not coming in the same fashion that we've been used to, and we are going to be experiencing a little bit more droughts down the road potentially. So yeah, it's a pretty great project. And I had, at the start of this, I mentioned the meeting that I attended with the National Association of Development Organizations. That's something that I had been interested in doing for quite some time. So I was really happy to become engaged with them, and just hear the scoop on how other regions approach economic development. So I look forward to continuing to be involved in that. And that is my update. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, before I move on to the resolution, I'm going to send Mayor Harvey the meeting code. So if you'll give me a moment. Okay. So hearing no questions on my report, we will now move on to the resolution at hand. So it's actually, I think, perfect timing, because it sounds like the Personnel Policies Committee is winding down its work, which is pretty amazing. And so now we're moving on to, we are joined by Mayor Harvey. Welcome, Mayor Harvey. Thank you for not giving up.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me in.
Welcome. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
So this resolution, okay, sorry, there's an echo. So resolution focuses on the creation of an organizational update documents update committee, and it is to update the review and update the articles of agreement, which were last revised and updated in 1982, and the bylaws, which were adopted on 1992 and never updated. This comes as it's a much needed update, but it also comes at the recommendation of our legal counsel, a review that was done back in 2014, I believe. For regional councils such as HVRC, the amount of time that is lapsed between the last update is quite significant. While it's not absolutely unusual, other regional councils have gone through this update. We also need to be in that modernized and updated state. So this resolution asks for the board to approve the creation of an organizational documents update committee for the updating of the bylaws and the articles of agreement. And we will be working in concert with, the committee would be working in concert with myself and HVRC's legal counsel, with the committee reporting to the board in the same structure as has been done with the personnel committees.
Okay.
Any questions?
So I guess we'll just approve the resolution, and then if people are interested in being a part of this committee, they can email me or Carla. Does that sound good?
Yes, that sounds
Okay.
good.
Okay, great. All right. So are there any questions or comments regarding Resolution 1, 2023 before the board? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to accept and adopt Resolution 1, 2023?
I have a motion from Natalie Quinn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I can second.
And just say your name. Who just
Sorry,
seconded? Okay. Well, we will now take a vote to adopt Resolution 1, 2023. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes, I abstain.
Okay. One abstention. Was that you, Mayor?
Yes, Torrance Harvey.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
haven't had a chance to really fully look at it.
Okay. Okay, we have one abstention. The resolution is approved and adopted. The next item on the agenda is the programmatic updates from the HVRC staff.
So I'm going to stop screen sharing and pass it over to you, Melanie. Okay, thank you, Melanie. And you're great. And I am going to, if you could give me just one more moment. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so as I mentioned, I wanted to thank the board for attending this first meeting of the HVRC's Board of Directors. I look forward to engaging and having and addressing more areas of interest with the board. We're looking very much forward to learning about the board's interest and direction that you all would like to see the organization, the ways in which you would like the organization to support the member counties. So that is a very exciting development for 2023, along with the other items that we already discussed. Next
Carla,
slide.
I just want to interrupt you. Are you paging down on the presentation, or are you?
Not yet.
Okay, okay, good. Because sometimes you think you are and you're not. So I just want to make sure.
Thank you. So this is just, this slide shows you a very high level presentation of the recommendations that came out of the CARES project. The document is on our website, the finalized document, and it is called Towards a Regional Resiliency Network, Lessons Learned from the COVID-19 Pandemic. This PowerPoint will be on our website, and you'll have access to the hyperlinks where you'll be able to reach those documents. And I just pulled out a couple of a few of the high-level recommendations that that were provided. For example, maintaining county-level continuity of operation plans and hazard mitigation plans were found to be pretty critical in some of the counties that were able to spin up a little bit more than others. Incorporating resiliency and disaster preparedness into the SEDS is a given, and it's a recommendation by FEMA. They have come out with a new guide, basically encouraging that, working together with the Economic Development Administration. Resiliency network working groups were something that that was identified that could be very beneficial for the region, and potentially convening a regional annual resilience summit, amongst others. And then the webinars, which were very well regarded and decently enough attended, had a really good series of information that was provided around how to be more resilient, communications to ensure that businesses, we all get back to business, and supporting our local economies after a strong economic impact. Next slide. And then in terms of the partnership planning program, we are looking to have the next 5-year SEDS, the 24 to 28 SEDS, be a much more robust process as it is intended by the Economic Development Administration. So meetings that don't just include the counties and the board members, but also key stakeholders from the region to develop a guiding document that pulls the region together and paints a picture of what the region can accomplish as a whole. And there may be the opportunity for additional funding through that. I will learn from that conversation with Ed Hummel. First poll, please, Melanie. So in this first poll, we're asking you to submit your response on whether you or your staff would be able to participate in a more robust regional planning process for the 5-year SEDS. The responses are yes, no, and maybe. And if you could take a moment to complete that, we'd like to, it'll help us in our planning process in the future.
So I'm sorry, can you give an example of what you might think a more robust regional planning process would be?
Sure. So in the more robust SEDS have SEDS planning committees that meet regularly. There are regional meetings with, say, for example, workforce development entities that the board members may meet with in order to understand what the needs are, not just within their county, but within the region. There would be public input meetings to discuss the recommendations that arise from the planning process. That would be open to the public, as opposed to having the document that would be placed just on our website for review. So involving more of the actors in the planning process than have been in the past. And so the formation of a committee to guide this, to participate, is one of the primary requests that would be associated with a more robust planning process.
I'm sorry. I wish we would have talked about this in advance. I just I think I don't know if it's fair to ask the board members to lead this process.
So I'm not recommending leading the process. but
Okay, you just said lead, so that's why I was like,
Okay.
timeout. I don't
Thank you
think,
for catching that. Yeah, that's not the intent. It's to participate and ensure that that the process, the way that it is designed, makes sense for what we're trying to accomplish. But definitely the board members would not be leading the process. It would be an advisory committee, if you will.
okay. Okay, I guess we'd have to, I think it would be fair to the members to quantify the level of commitment, number of hours per month, et cetera.
Sure, yes, yes. And this is not meant as in, this is not meant to be something that's set in stone, as in you, you say yes to this and so you're obligated to commit. It's just like, does this sound like something that is of interest to you?
Good,
We're
I
trying to
think
get-
that makes good sense. Thank you.
And I see Tim raising his hand.
Yeah, and I apologize. I turned off my video to hope that it doesn't mess up the audio. I think just in answer to your question that you posed, I think it's important to maybe explore a little better what the SEDS process unlocks for our region. And I think that's maybe been missing so far from the conversation, that there are, especially now and in the foreseeable future, some pretty tremendous resources available through USEDA. And I think that, maybe it may be worth some time to the board or to a group of board members that are particularly interested in this process to do a little bit of educating about what USEDA has to offer and why participating in a more robust SEDS could be beneficial to the member counties.
That's a very good point.
I agree. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm not sure if everyone has had a chance to complete the survey, those who are interested in completing it. And maybe we can close that one out, Melanie, and move so that I can move on to the next piece. Thank you. And then also shown on the slide are the EDA grant application guidance in terms of the priority areas, investment priorities. I shared this last time. I recently checked it to see that there hadn't been any change in the priority areas, and there hasn't been. And one of the things that I wanted to do another poll on was the aggregated data platforms. An aggregated data platform was made available to the all members. A number of you, your staff, used a statebook during this process. There are a number of other platforms that are available. Here are some links to some that exist. The pricing ranges quite a bit, and it is something that I'm going to be discussing with Ed Hummel in terms of potentially funding this through separate funding or maybe the current funding. I'm not sure. So in this next poll, there are a couple of questions associated with the aggregated data platform, which are all designed to support economic development work. Melanie, if you could bring that up. Okay, so if you could take a moment to complete these as you go through these three questions. So the first one is if you believe that it would be beneficial to your planners to have access to an aggregated data platform hosted by HVRC. So yes, no, maybe. The next one is if HVRC were not able to fund a platform through the EDA Partnership Planning Grant, would you have an interest in contributing to an annual membership fee? What I have found is that the membership fees are lower when done in aggregation. And that one, the responses there are yes, no, maybe. And then the last question is if you would have interest in participating in the review and demos of potential aggregated data platforms, or if there's a colleague that you think might be of interest. So if there's no one that comes to mind now, but you would like to email me later about that, that would be great. So I'll give a few more moments for completion of answers, and then we will move on to the next slide. Thank you, Melanie. Next slide. And then if you could close out the poll, great. So what I provided here in this next slide are a listing of a variety of grants or financing opportunities that are currently available. Of course, it doesn't even probably begin to scratch at the surface of everything that's available right now, but I wanted to highlight a couple of items. One is there are 2 RFIs that are available for public input right now, the 2 EDA ones down at the bottom, Tech Hubs program and Recomplete pilot program. These can be, the Tech Hubs is about driving technology and innovation-centric growth that leverages existing R&D strengths. And then the Recompete pilot program for distressed areas is to focus on getting funding in distressed areas to create and connect workers to good jobs and support long-term comprehensive economic development. So I wanted to make sure that people knew about this opportunity to respond and just provide these links here for folks who were interested in looking more into these grant opportunities. And because of time, I'm actually going to skip this poll, but I do have scheduled a meeting with the Connect All staff this Friday at 1 p.m. A number of staff members that have been working on broadband will be joining that meeting. It is a listening session for Connect All staff to learn about what the region and the counties, what their plans are for broadband work and what their needs are. So if your staff are not aware of the meeting and you would like them to be, please let them know and reach out to me. Thanks. And with that, I will pass it on to Eleanor.
Thank you, Carla. So first, for the water quality planning program, we have hired our new water resources coordinator. Her name is Lauren Bunch. She's starting next week. She previously was an environmental scientist at a company in Connecticut. She graduated from Binghamton University with a Master of Science in Geology, and she interned in Kingston at the New York City DEP, writing a report summarizing groundwater resources in the Hudson Valley. So she's very well prepared for this. We are really excited to have her start next week. Next slide, Mel. So as you all know, we are the recipient of 604B water quality grant funding from DEC via the EPA. We're currently focused on the Drinking Water Source Protection Program. Our current community volunteer is New Paltz. We've completed the draft plan. We're working on finalizing some edits from DEC, including creating these project profiles for each of the protection and management methods. This has been a little slow since we didn't have a staff member focused on it for a few months, but I sent the edited draft plan back to the village today for their review. Next slide, Melanie. So Mary is going to share more, I believe, about the survey we sent out, but one really fantastic finding is that 24% of the respondents that participated in the survey of municipalities are interested in creating a DWSP2 plan for their municipality and asked us to contact them. So Lauren's going to be really busy following up on these leads when she starts. An additional 43% of respondents want to learn more about the program. This is great news because we worked on just a few leads the past few months folks who expressed interest but haven't really been able to move forward with a plan yet. So we have a lot to work on now. Next slide. Moving on to the Clean Energy Communities program, we hired a new Clean Energy Communities coordinator. She starts in a couple weeks. This is Elizabeth Sun. She received her bachelor's in biology and public health from George Washington University, and she's currently completing her master's in public health with a certificate in environmental health policy from Columbia. She's been a legislative fellow for Citizens Climate Lobby, and she is going to be another great asset to the team. We're really excited to work with both of these new hires. Next slide. So we've had grants recently in 4 of our 7 counties. Congratulations to Middletown, Newburgh, Amenia, Highlands, Thompson, Buchanan, Highland Falls, and Sleepy Hollow for earning their Clean Energy Communities designation. That means they completed 4 Clean Energy Communities actions. The city of Poughkeepsie and the towns of Greenburgh and Pound Ridge also recently received point-based grant awards. And we have a number of communities as well who received grants for completing a clean heating campaign that I have not listed here. So that is excellent news. And last slide. We are maintaining our lead in terms of participating communities and actions completed across the state. With Liz on board soon, these numbers are just going to continue to grow, which is important because each time these numbers go up, a municipality saves taxpayer dollars thanks to some energy saving action that they've undertaken. Now I'm going to pass it over to Melanie to talk about our Climate Smart Communities grant.
Thank you. So we ran a cohort this past fall working on government operations greenhouse gas inventories, and out of the 13 municipalities that were participating, we have 11 completed government operations greenhouse gas inventories. And starting at the end of January, we moved into the government operations climate action planning cohort, where 11 municipalities that participated with us in the fall have moved on to this cohort working on their climate action plan. And we have another group who had completed their greenhouse gas inventories on their own and have jumped into this climate action planning cohort with us. So there's another 8 municipalities in that group, and we are anticipating 19 complete climate action plans. This cohort will be running through June, and then we'll do a check-in in September to see how they're coming along with those. And pass it to Carla.
Thank you, Melanie. So this is just a little bit of a synopsis on the next steps in the Kingston Organics Diversion project. It has been wonderful working with Julie Noble, who is the Environmental Education and Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Kingston, and Environmental Specialist Ellie Gardenstein. So as you can see, the final document based on the public input period and public input meeting, the final document should be available by April 24th. And so at the next board meeting, we'll be providing some highlights from that document. Thanks. Mary. Mary?
Oh, Mary, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was saying the Climate Action Planning Institute is off to a great start. We have great support from the communities and from the utilities and from the counties and everyone involved. It's exciting. We've started off by focusing on a high-level greenhouse gas inventory process. So we've discussed the protocol and the emissions sectors, the data gathering process by sector, and the input process, as well as outreach and engagement. The teams, each cohort team has split up into subgroups focused on data collection, research, and communities, and they've begun to consider their municipal emissions by sector. So they're trying to determine what should be included in the inventory, as well as the sectors that make the most sense. They're locating internal and external data resources and gathering the data through research, meetings, and customizing data templates. Next slide, please. So there'll be 62 reports in total. There are going to be 18 greenhouse gas inventories, which we hope to wrap up by the end of Q2. Then beginning in Q3, we'll work on the climate action plans. That will take us through Q1 2024. And in parallel to that, we'll be working on the climate vulnerability assessments and the climate adaptation chapters. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the municipal engagement survey. The preliminary results are in from HVRC's 2023 municipal survey. It was sent to HVRC's master list of elected officials and municipal staff across all 7 counties that HVRC supports. The goal was to provide better and potentially more targeted support to Mid-Hudson municipalities and to better advocate on behalf of those municipalities. There were 132 responses. 81% were from Dutchess, Westchester, or Ulster counties, which is consistent with the populations of those counties. They make up roughly 78% of the 7-county Mid-Hudson region. Percentage-wise, the most municipal participation came from Dutchess and Putnam counties. I also looked at the percentage of overall populations represented by those municipalities participating. So this is the total population of the participating municipalities divided by the total county population. I found that the population represented by the Dutchess County respondents was the highest. So 75% of Dutchess County was represented. In Ulster, 70% was represented, and Rockland 61%. So, ideally we would see even higher population representation, but we think this is strong coverage for some meaningful analysis. And lastly, I should note there were 25 survey questions. So this is just a snapshot of the results in a preliminary analysis, and undoubtedly there'll be much more to glean from the survey. Next slide, please. Okay, so general assistance. The activities that had the greatest number of responses for this question were the grant application writing support, followed by identification of grants and planning assistance. So we've seen a noticeable increase in the number and complexity of funding opportunities this year, with the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Environmental Bond Act alone. And it appears municipalities are looking for help of navigating this new funding landscape, as well as with the grant applications themselves. Next slide, please. So specific to HVRC's assistant, and consistent with the prior slide, we're seeing that HVRC's assistance was most requested for grant writing and administration, followed by grant application consultation, as well as assistance with the Clean Energy Communities program. These top three activities are all potential municipal revenue streams for municipalities. So this is an understandable outcome, but they all involve significant upfront work and time. So grant writing and administration is not something HVRC currently provides, but something to consider moving forward, as this need for grant assistance, I believe is growing and is a trend throughout the survey results. Next slide, please. In terms of attracting business, the question was, what programs or initiatives would you like to run to attract more business to your community? And the top three responses were technical assistance on economic development programs, followed by business-focused events and advertising and marketing. So this was not inconsistent with what we're seeing both in our own experiences and on the ground and in the press, that economic development is very much at the forefront of both communities and municipalities. And I think provides some validation for HVRC's efforts to de-silo economic development and environmental or climate resiliency efforts. Next slide, please. In terms of the Climate Smart Communities program specifically, of all of the Climate Smart Communities actions, the respondents were most interested in green economic development or green jobs training, followed by the Climate Adaptation Plan and a CSC action called Evaluate Policies for Climate Resilience, which is one of the fundamental steps in resilience planning. So green economic development and green jobs training is probably on everyone's radar, but I thought it was notable that only 3 municipalities in all of New York State have submitted for the CSC action called Green Jobs Training through the Climate Smart Communities portal program program. They are Tompkins, Ulster, and Suffolk counties. So again, this is potentially another area for HVRC to focus on, as well as the region as a whole moving forward. And last slide, specifically with water, in the water category, there was most interest in green infrastructure, followed by local flood analysis and source water protection. Another trend in the data was the focus on infrastructure. And there's a lot for municipalities to consider in green building infrastructure, so more food for thought for HVRC. And lastly, as Eleanor alluded to earlier, there is a desire for source water protection planning, which is helpful for HVRC to see as we're working specifically on creating source water protection plans for municipalities. And that's it for me.
We are going to be done momentarily. So this is just a reminder of the upcoming board meetings for the year. And all board members should have received a calendar invitation with a hold for these meetings. And on the next slide is just our regular contact information and the link to our most recent newsletter, which has a number of other funding opportunities listed on it, and with our new staff shortly to be added. So that is the end of the programmatic update. Sorry, we're taking you a little bit over.
Can you go back to that last slide, Carla, please?
Which last slide? The one with the contact info
Yes,
or?
with the contact info, yes.
Okay.
right.
So this is the full current team, and we will be adding Lauren Bunce and Elizabeth or Liz Sun to the list.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Chairwoman, back to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for those updates. Any questions from the board members on the updates that you just heard? Okay, hearing none. We will move to the next item, which is public comment. Are there any members of the public on the Zoom meeting or at any other of the in-person locations who wish to make a comment? Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Please identify yourself by name when making a motion or seconding.
So move, Torrance Harvey, Mayor of Newburgh.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second, Natalie Quinn.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye. The meeting,
Aye.
the meeting is adjourned. And as Carla said, the next meeting is March 1st, 2023 at 4 o'clock. Thank you all very much.
June 7th.
Hey,
Oh, I'm sorry. I
right.
thought that looked wrong. That's today's
Because
date.
that's today.
Right.
Yeah,
June-
that's
June
today.
7th. I've had it at the top of the document. Sorry about that. Yep, June 7th.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Good to see
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
People.
Good night.
Good night.